AOC has been out there on this, I don't know if it's campaign trail, I don't know what we're calling it, but this like fight the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders, from which, venue to venue, she travels first class, sipping her champagne, in the first class cabin as the losers and plebs walk by to coach. They're the ones she's really fighting for. And she's decided to ramp up her anti-Trump rhetoric.
AOC gets some very bad news from Megyn Kelly after some very telling comments she made about Donald Trump. Folks, you're not going to want to miss this. AOC is out of control. But luckily, Megyn Kelly is here to set the record straight. So with all that being said, we're going to get right into it. But first, do me a huge favor here, folks. Like our video and share it around so we can keep bringing you all this great, hard-hitting content. And as always, Patriots, I'm your host, Darian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
AOC has been out there on this, I don't know if it's campaign trail, I don't know what we're calling it, but this like fight the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders, from which, venue to venue, she travels first class, sipping her champagne, in the first class cabin as the losers and plebs walk by to coach. They're the ones she's really fighting for. And she's decided to ramp up her anti-Trump rhetoric in a way she's done before, but that could be deeply problematic for her if Trump actually decides to pay some attention to her. Listen to her just the other day, SOT 11.
Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud, liable for sexual abuse. Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror.
Yeah. Crazy.
Okay. Clearly saying that Donald Trump is a racist. Racist. She also thinks he's a racist. He's all the ists. But here, she's in deep trouble because he was not found liable for rape. And George Stephanopoulos just had to pay ABC some $15 million to President Trump to settle a defamation lawsuit for saying that. She doesn't have any privilege out on the campaign stump. She's not protected by speech and debate while she's out there. And I ask you, Steve, whether Trump should do something about this, because quickly, here she was just in January on social media about his inauguration. Listen to her there.
All these journalists are like, Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Congresswoman, are you going to the inauguration? Are you going to the inauguration? Let me make myself clear. I don't celebrate rapists. So no, I'm not going to the inauguration tomorrow.
Okay, so I think there's something important that's being missed here. Yes, AOC is a dirty liar. I think we've all known this for quite some time now. That is the case for pretty much the vast majority of the Democrat Party. But there's one thing that I think they kind of missed. That ridiculous faux Mexican accent she was doing. I mean, seriously, what on earth was that? She just sits there and starts caking on this accent, this Mexican thing. Donald Trump, he is such a racist and something that rhymes with racist. You won't believe it. Okay? Sexual assault. Nah. Ay. It's like, dude, you grew up in the United States. You're from New York. Cut the ridiculous bullshit. It's really crazy.
That's at least twice.
I'm 10,000% in favor of consequences being ratcheted up comprehensively in the culture at the moment. So commenso festival of lawsuits and lawfare. This would be just restitutional for everything they put the president through in the last year and a half. So sure, I'm completely and totally in favor of it. In fact, now that you mention it, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't done this already.
Yeah, I think he's probably just not paying attention to her. But, think about it.
Well, hold on now. You may have also stumbled on something there. That might be the ultimate diss. Like, you're just not even worth the salt in my tears. I have no idea who you are exactly. Not even worthy of a lawsuit. Exactly, yes.
But think about it. Like, we've gotten so used to people saying the worst things about Trump. I mean, truly the worst things that you're kind of like, whatever. But, like, if picture, like, yourself or anyone if you got called that word, you would absolutely sue her. You know, like it would be so jarring and upsetting and defamatory. There'd be no question that you needed to do something about it. And really, the standards should not change just because you're Donald Trump. Yes, as a politician, you need to take barbs like, he's a liar, he's a bad person. You know, those are opinions to which she's totally entitled. Stating that he is a racist is a statement of fact, which is false and has been rejected by a court of law. And she continues to do it. So what do you make of it?
As Megyn Kelly just alluded to, yes, this kind of slander or libel, depending on the circumstance, can and does happen to regular people. Okay, I think a very important example of that to take note of is Nick Sandmann. You guys remember him? The Covington Catholic high school kid. Him and his buddies were out doing a pro-life kind of demonstration of sorts in Washington, D.C. during a school field trip. Only one problem, the left wasn't having any of it. We have this guy, Elder Nathan Phillips, as they call him, 50-year-old man, total loser, came up to the kids, got upset at them, started beating a drum in their face, and then him and the hoax left-wing media started pushing a lie that the kids were some kind of vicious white supremacists, racists, Christians, white males. Oh my God, the horror.
A video showing a confrontation between the high school students, including junior Nick Sandmann, and an Omaha elder Nathan Phillips went viral and sparked outrage. Phillips told the Post his version of the incident on the afternoon of January 20th. Later that evening, Sandmann released a public statement giving his account.
All the kid did was smile while this ridiculous 50-year-old man, keep in mind it's a 16-year-old kid, and this man who's over 50 was beating a drum in his face like a clown. And what did the kid do? He smiled. You know what? Pretty damn mature response for a kid, if you ask me. And he got dragged through the freaking mud. The media went after him, called him all these horrible things. He had people threatening violence and death against this guy. It was sick. Reza Aslan is a good example. Mainstream left-wing journalist who was making a post encouraging people to punch the kid. Really sick and disgusting people. And by the way, the kid walked away victorious, lest you think that they got away with it. They didn't, at least not completely. He sued CNN, Washington Post, and NBC in multi-million-dollar lawsuits. Okay, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. Later on, all of these outlets ended up settling with the kid for an undisclosed amount. So yes, it is nasty what these people could do. And Donald Trump should sue people like AOC. Because if they're going to do it to the president, guess what? They're going to do it to regular people too. The peasants, as the Democrats view them.
Make of it.
It's the campaign rhetoric they want to hear, and it's
Sorry, that
because
was for
here's the thing.
Delano.
Oh, Delano, my bad. My bad.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I agree with Steve. Right, to me the heavier the claim, the heavier the burden of proof in terms of bringing evidence to bear. You just can't go and say things about people. I remember this happened when Justice Kavanaugh was being confirmed, and there was a political analyst on MSNBC who basically said, I'm paraphrasing, he was on Joy Reid's show, so that'll give you a sense of what's coming. He said, Kavanaugh is like all the guys I grew up with, you know, in the sort of DMV area, right? He was the last guy in, you know, a gang rape. And I thought to myself then, I said, I hope Justice Kavanaugh sues this guy under a bridge, because I think people have gotten way too reckless with their words, way too willing to say things and make claims about people that they can't substantiate with evidence. And to your point, Megyn, President Trump is not above the law, but he's not below it either. And this is a standard that I hold across the board, irrespective of political ideology or sort of partisan affiliation, of skin color or religion. If you're going to make a claim about somebody and you're going to accuse them of some of the worst crimes known to man, you better come with some evidence. But there's another issue here that I want to point out. In addition to, you know, I said, I live in Maryland, so I'm very familiar with the way blue states operate. I worked in local government for almost 15 years. My last year was in a gun violence prevention office, and I did some restorative justice training. I got certified in restorative justice. And one of the things that I noticed is that the people in restorative justice were always against punishment. They hated the punitive aspect of the justice system, unless it was against people that they didn't like. So if it was against January 6ers, throw them in jail for the rest of their life. If it was against Trump, throw the book at him. And AOC is using sort of words like felon and criminal in a pejorative sense today when she's talking about Trump. Any other time, it would be about ban the box. We shouldn't ask people about their criminal history.
That's so
people
true.
deserve a second chance. So the left really isn't against, quote unquote, mass incarceration. They just want a weaponized legal system so that they can enact vengeance against the people that they do not like.
And that wraps up the clip, folks. I will say I'm a little suspicious of the last guest there talking about how he was part of a gun violence prevention and restorative justice training. I don't know. Maybe he was just there to infiltrate. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume he was, but watch out. Might be a plant. That's all I'm saying. Kind of kidding, but also not, because we've seen examples of that before. With all that being said, Patriots, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, comment below. Let us know what you like about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future, and hit that subscribe button. And that way we can be sure that we'll see you again soon. God bless.